I know this may come as a surprise, but I've decided to sell this motorcycle. Today I will share the reasons why. I will also talk about this motorcycle from the 2 years long perspective of an owner. I have already 20,000 kilometers done on this bike. So I know quite a few things about how it works and what you can expect by getting 701 or 690 Enduro R as your motorcycle. And I will also talk about the reason for change. So enough talking, let's have a ride. Okay, so let's start with my owner's review after 2 years and 20,000 kilometers with this 2021 Husqvarna 701 Enduro. What was my experience with the bike? Were there any issues? And why I decided to move forward and sell the bike. So, first of all, just want to say that there was nothing wrong, and then still there is nothing wrong with this bike. For all of those that are saying that KTM's have reliability issues, at least I didn't experience that with mine at all. So, for those of you who don't know, Husqvarna is a company owned by the same group that owns KTM's. The same goes for Gas from Spain. So more and more often you see and you will see that the same bike is just dressed in a different clothes under each brand. So for example, Husky 701 is a KTM 690 Enduro R, and there is a similar bike under the brand of Gas is Gas 700. Technically they like 98% the same, just minor, very minor differences, and of course different colors, different plastics. The same goes to the 890 platform. So in the adventure segment you have 890 Adventure and Adventure R, and in Husqvarna you have Norden 901 and 901 Expedition. So for those of you who are wondering if you should get KTM 690 or Husky 701 or Gas 700, and your main concern is reliability of the bike, then I am happy to say that after 2 years and 20,000 kilometers, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the bike. No technical issues at all, zero. So yes, I will admit that I was looking after this bike much more than I did for my Honda. Because with Honda you just basically go for service and then you probably do nothing between the services except for lubricating the chain. But with this, I kind of knew that I will need to look more after the bike, but again, I like it. So and I also learned a lot by having this Husky about mechanics, about taking care of things that I would never consider doing myself. So for example, I have changed the brake fluid on this bike for the first time in my life. I have also changed the cooling liquids, and without making changes to the engine, that bike was turned to elements quite a few times. So but nothing with the engine, because as I have no technical knowledge about that. So nothing wrong. It's been perfect for commuting. It's been perfect for weekend rides like this one, for off-road. I again absolutely love the fact that this is so simple. Like the traction control and the Enduro ABS is just one button to switch from the road mode to the off-road mode, and that the bike is not forcing me to go through this procedure every time I turn off the engine and then turn the engine back on. I don't have to click through menus and buttons. The simplicity of that solution is perfect. And since I already posted an ad for the 701 that it is for sale, there are some people calling me and asking why so many mods? What would be my next mod? That was an interesting question. So the only thing that is still a huge compromise for long touring adventures, like we did to Romania, for example, are the highways and the comfort. So when you do it once or twice per year, that you just have to survive 1 or 2 days on highways, then this is absolutely acceptable. I was never the one looking for comfort on motorcycle. That's why I'm still riding on the factory seat that some say is just a plain wood. But I never cared about comfort that much. So when the guy asked me what would be my next mod, if any, I'd say if I would be sticking with this bike, I would probably have to do something with the seat, only because there are more and more highways travel ahead for later this year and the next year and the coming years too. That is one of the reasons that I decided to move away from 701. But other than that, and with all of the modifications that I did to the bike, it is a perfectly capable machine to travel off-road. I absolutely love the fact how light it is. I've tested quite a few bikes over the last few weeks when I was looking for my next bike, and each time I was getting back on my bike after the test ride, I felt like I was riding a bicycle. So the weight is something that I really enjoy, and I really appreciate how light this bike is, how nimble it is because of that. I know that people are saying that even with a heavy bike, when you're rolling, you don't feel the weight anymore. But to be honest, I still felt it, and I felt relief getting back to 701. So I absolutely still love this bike. I think it's, for my kind of riding, at least up to this point, there was nothing wrong with it, and I absolutely loved it. So as an owner, after 2 years and 20,000 kilometers, I can say, if you look after it, if you want to also learn something about the motorcycle mechanics, then it's perfectly reliable and a great platform to learn on, as everything is quite simple in here. So why change? If I am so happy with the bike, why I decided to sell it? There are two reasons. First is related to some changes in life, and I will need to ride highways much more often than I did before. So imagine I would need to be riding about 700 kilometers each weekend on highways. And I am not able to just take B roads and just ride those 700 kilometers on B roads and have fun on this bike. I will need to get there quickly and then be back quickly. So that's the reason number one. I know that this is doable on 701, but I know I will suffer a lot, and this engine is not the happiest on highways. It's capable of just, cruising along at 120, 130 kilometers per hour with no luggage. With luggage it's around 120. That's a happy place. But this is not something that this bike was built for, and I am 100% sure about this. The second reason is that my kids recently started to ride with me. So their comfort is challenged on 701. And there's one more thing. I also feel that with the passenger, the braking power that I have is limited. So for example, when I was in need to brake harder, I felt like the front brake is struggling, and I have good pads. I still have the factory pump. Maybe that's how you can solve it. That's what my friend Kuba told me, that replacing the pump could help, but it wouldn't resolve the other two topics, like the highways, frequent rides, and the comfort of my passenger. So these are the only two reasons I've decided to change the bike, and I have to say this is not something that I want to do, but I think I just need to do. So just to sum up, the 701 is for sale. I've tested quite a few bikes, and I think I found the one to move forward with. But before that, I will need to sell this one to be able to finance the next one. So stay tuned, there is one guy coming this week. That is why I decided to take this final ride with 701 and enjoy it for the last time. If you have any questions, you might know what I am picking as my next bike, let me know in the comments. And probably the next video will already be from the new platform. Keep your fingers crossed. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Cheers. Dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry.
Czy ja mogę przez kask, czy zdejmować?
Troszkę jakby pan
Dobra,
podniósł,
dobra.
żeby usta było widać, będzie łatwiej dmuchnąć.
Dobra, już działamy. O, tak.
W porządku, dziękuję miło.
Dziękuję bardzo.